Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Cars with Cuz, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install mud guards on your car. So as always, let's get this video started with everything you're going to need to get this job done. First off, you're gonna need some gloves to keep those hands nice and clean. You're also gonna need some soapy water to prep the area that you're about to put these mud guards on, and a microfiber towel just to dry that soapy water off. You're also gonna need some 3000 grit sandpaper or higher grit, just in case that spot that you're putting the mud guards onto can't be cleaned by the soapy water and microfiber towel. And if that's the case, you're also gonna need some compound to fill in the holes, or aka scratches, that you created by wet sanding. And if you're going with the wet sanding route, you're also gonna need some polish to restore that OEM finish to your car. Up next is one of my favorite tools, a multi-bit screwdriver that you can use to remove some of the screws and add on the new ones for the mud guards. And to go along with that multi-bit screwdriver, you're also gonna need a bit set, which can help you if you have multiple different types of screws, whether that be Phillips head, flathead, or Torx. Now these last three are optional just in case you don't have the right tools to get this job done. First up are two different sockets, one to remove your lug nuts and the other to remove the lock nut, just in case you have to remove the wheel to gain access to the screws on the fender liner. And in order to use those sockets, I also recommend that you get a breaker bar just to loosen up those bolts. And while it's not required, I also recommend that you get something to lay down on to get this job done. So now that you know everything you're gonna need to get this job done, let's talk about why you should put mud guards on your car. So as you can see, with the mud guards installed, you have very little to no brake oil, rubber from your tires, or rock chips on your paint job. However, you don't always get perfect results, as you can see here. Installing them is just a method to help you prevent future rock chips, rubber from your tires, or brake oil getting on your paint and ruining it. And speaking of ruining your paint, this is my wife's 2012 Volkswagen Passat. She never liked the look of the mud guards on her car, so she had me remove them. And after about a month of driving, a rock dings her side skirt and fender, causing all the rust that you see. And now all of a sudden she becomes a big fan of the mud guards, so she wants me to remove the rust, paint the car, and put the mud guards back on. So you can learn a lesson from this. Mud guards protect your paint. Now that we have that out of the way, let's go through these 3 easy steps to install mud guards on your car. Step number 1 is to prep the area you're going to be installing the mud guards on. Step number 2 is to remove the screws from the fender liner. And in step number 3, you're going to be installing the mud guards on your car. Now there are 2 different ways you can go about doing this install: the hard way and the easy way. The easy way consists of having the proper tools to get the job done, and the hard way is the opposite, not having the proper tools to get the job done. So with that being said, I'm going to be showing you both, starting off with the hard way. Most cars nowadays come with tools that will help you change a flat tire. Those tools will be useful for this install, so take them out. In those tools, you'll find a center cap removal key, so take that out and remove your center cap. So now that you've removed the center caps, you're also going to be removing the tire. And before you go ahead and do that, you want to make sure your emergency brakes are on. With your emergency brakes depressed, you also want to make sure you get something to choke off the front wheels so your car doesn't roll when you jack it up. And now with your safety precautions out of the way, it's time to take care of yourself. So get something that you can lay down on so you can do the first step, which is prepping the car. You can honestly use anything, a blanket, a mechanic's creeper, an old towel, whatever it is. Just use something so your body isn't scrapey against the gravel as you prep the area. Now bring out your breaker bar and the appropriate socket so you can begin to loosen up those lug nuts. Looks like we've encountered a lock nut, so let's find the appropriate socket for it. And now that we found the lock nut socket, let's go ahead and loosen it too, so we can jack up the car and remove all 5 nuts. So bring out your manufacturer's provided jack and let's lift this car. But before you jack up your car, make sure you get a piece of wood that's about 1 inch thick so you don't create a pothole where your jack will stand. Now place your jack on the piece of wood and begin lifting your car, making sure that your jack lines up with the jack points on your vehicle. Now that you have your car jacked up, let's go ahead and loosen all 5 nuts and take off the wheel. Now that you have the 5 lug nuts removed, we can go ahead and remove the wheel. Now this wheel may be really stuck on there, but just giving it a nice hard kick will get it off. Just make sure you catch it. Now that I have the tire off, I always slide it underneath the car just in case the jack fails. Now bring your soap and water and your microfiber towel over and let's prep the area we're going to be installing these mudguards onto. Start by spraying off the area really well with your soapy water and then get your microfiber towel and try to clean off all that debris. Now I want to make sure this area is really clean before I install the mudguards, so I'm going to be wet sanding it with some 3000 grit sandpaper and some soapy water. So go ahead and get your sandpaper wet and spray the area with the soapy water and begin sanding. Now that you finish wet sanding the area, spray down the car one more time and wipe it off with a microfiber towel. Now get the rubbing compound of your choice and a microfiber pad. Squeeze the rubbing compound on your microfiber pad and begin rubbing it into the paint. Let the rubbing compound sit for about 5 minutes and then come back with a microfiber towel and wipe off the area. Now get another microfiber pad and your polish of choice, put some polish on your pad and rub it into the paint. And let that sit for 5 minutes as well and then wipe it off with a microfiber towel. Now we can finally start removing the screws and installing these mudguards. So take your multi-bit screwdriver with your proper Torx bit and let's remove these screws. Now you can install the mudguard. Now these mudguards may be different from the ones that go on your car. In my case, there's a little slot here that goes into right here and it just slides onto the bumper. Now when you're sliding this, just try to be careful and not scratch your car. I know it's hard. I'm trying to be as careful as possible not to scratch anything. But once you get it on, just take your 2 screws and hand tighten them first and then screw them in the rest of the way. And with that last screw, we are done installing this mudguard. Just make sure it's on there nice and tight. And here's what it looks like after you've installed it. Now that's quite a different look if I do say so myself. And now that we're done installing this mudguard, we can go ahead and put the tire back on. Now that it's time to put the tire back on, I don't recommend that you do it this way and strain your back. Instead, you want to slide your feet underneath the tire and use the heel of the shoe to lift the tire up as you line it up on the hub. Now take one of your lock nuts and hand tighten it in at the top so you can keep the tire on while you put on the other 4 lug nuts. Now go ahead and hand tighten the other 4 lug nuts. Now after you've done that, take a breaker bar with the appropriate socket and tighten these bolts all the way in a star pattern. Now you can begin by lowering your car, but before you do that, make sure that tire is on there nice and straight and that you have at least secured those lug nuts somewhat so it doesn't slip off the car. This is a very heavy vehicle, you want to be careful. Once you've checked everything and you're sure, you can lower the car down all the way. Now that the car is on the ground, you can go ahead and remove your jack. And once you remove your jack, let's go back and tighten these bolts one more time in a star pattern, making sure that they are properly bolted on. And now that the tire is properly bolted on, just take your center cap and put it back on. So we finished installing one mudguard in the rear. Now let's do the other side, but this time I'm going to show you how to do it without removing the tire. All you need is the right tools. So let me just move the car over to the side so I have enough room to work, and let me show you how to install a mudguard the easy way. And just like we did on the other side, first let's bring our blanket over, and then our soapy water, and a microfiber towel. And let's begin prepping the area again, just like how we did on the other side, using our soapy water and a microfiber towel. And just like on the other side, soapy water and a microfiber towel aren't going to get rid of this debris. So let's get our sandpaper and begin wet sanding. And then use compound and polish to fill in the sanding scratches. And remember to use a microfiber towel to wipe off the compound and polish. And now that you've done that, let me introduce you to one of my favorite tools, a bit handle. All you do with this tool is simply insert the proper bit you need, and then this gives you enough room to access certain screws that you can't with other tools. So with your bit handle and the proper Torx bit, go ahead and remove the screws inside the fender liner. And now, just as we did on the other side, slide your new mudguard in through the open slot and screw it on to complete the installation. And now that we're done with the rear, we can proceed to the front and install those mudguards as well. Now these are very simple to do and very easy. If you need room for your tools, just turn your steering wheel. And for the front, the same steps apply as the rear. Prep, wipe, wet sand if needed, and if wet sanding is needed, you gotta compound, polish, wipe off, and install. And now with the other side, everything is the same except turning the wheel in the opposite direction. So go ahead and do that, repeat the steps, and you are officially done installing your mudguards. So with that being said, this brings us to the end of the video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you liked this. If you did, then give this video a like, and if you're new to my channel, then consider subscribing. And until next time, I've been Cuz, you've been you, and I'll catch you later.